morning, everyone. Happy Thursday and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am the badass Buddha, Lori Monaco, coming to you from a beautiful and chilly Eastern Tennessee. So good morning, everyone. Tiffany Bryan beat everybody today. Good morning, Tiffany. And there's my sister, Leanne. Good morning.
Buenos dias. I was just going to ask for Tiffany Bryant because I don't remember her being on Tuesday. Was she? Were
No,
you?
Tiffany, right? We didn't see you on
Yeah,
Tuesday.
or the week before. Uh-huh.
Missed Tiffany. That's what it is. You were missed. And Madeline is in the house. Good morning, Madeline.
Yes,
Madeline, you
buenos
know
dias.
that's
I'm just sharing.
my oldest daughter's name is Madeline, spelled the exact same way.
Madeline. Madeline. Yes.
You gonna introduce yourself just in case
Yes,
people don't know?
solamente aquí con la Margarita, your gladiator guru. And here it has been like a little crisp in the mornings and in the afternoon and in the evenings, but it's been, today should be warmer than it's been since I got here. So here in Florida, and excited to finish this matter. And how did it go on the show with Carmen? I got to look it up on YouTube.
Oh yes, I totally. That was it was Tuesday afternoon, right?
It was
Oh
Tuesday.
yeah, Madeline, you have to let us know. I know. You know what? I get into this mode of because it's constant, like constant unpacking and rearranging and stuff. So I have lost track of everything, even my clients. Like I had a client on Tuesday, which threw me off because I don't normally have them on Tuesday, and then Wednesday I had a client, and yesterday I was wiped out. Like I think it finally hit me. Just all this preparation. I was exhausted yesterday. I mean, I could tell I wasn't feeling sick. I was just tired and I just wanted to go right back to sleep. I had a horrible headache and I rarely get headaches. And I think part of it was I was dehydrated. I was just physically exhausted. But I feel so much better today. Like I actually did get a good night's sleep. I hydrated a lot, and a little ibuprofen at the end of the day helped as well.
It's the same here, organizing to eliminate what do I keep, what do I gift away. It does fly very fast, Carmen. It's 30 minutes. I mean, Madeline. And then you get so involved in the conversation with Carmen. And to me, I always think she asks like the most piercing questions. And then she's like, boom, boom, boom. And before you know it, you got to say goodbye. So, yeah, that's the good thing of being on with Carmen. The time flies. Even if you go up there sitting up nervous, it's like you don't really got to do much. She's going to ask you the questions that are about you and how hard is it to answer you're you. So it is. I'm glad you got to go on there with Carmen because she's just awesome. Yeah, so that's how you do. You go through stuff, and then you're like, oh shit, I didn't have that. And then yesterday, I surprised myself going through. I have like um tote bags filled with pictures and stuff, and I surprised myself when I was actually throwing pictures away. And then my sister's like, I can't believe you're throwing pictures away. I don't throw none of my pictures away. I said, she goes, I have them saved in the box in the basement. That made no sense, sister. They're in the basement collecting dust. You don't look through them. You don't flip to them. You don't have that crash course of memories coming through. So I said, the majority of the pictures I already have them on Facebook. They're in my iCloud. So, there's just a few that you're like, oh, look at the beautiful little face. Like when your kids were small and you have to torture them with it so you don't throw them away. Yeah, I kept those.
You
And
know,
that's anyway.
you know what that reminds me of is when I was a kid, or when we were kids, my sister and I, frequently our parents we'd all get together in the living room, me, my sister, my brother, my parents, and they had the old little slide projector, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Not the one that had the carousel where you just click the button and it rotates. This is the one where it's like individual, like really old slide projector. And they would periodically take it out and show the slides, most of which I wasn't even actually, I don't think I was in any of them because that was like back in the 50s and 60s those slides were from. But we would look at them, and we would look at pictures. And it's funny, like, we had stopped doing that. Like, I don't know, like when I was quite young, we did it and we didn't do it for too long. But the memory that I have was so much fun to be able to take that out. And so now you got me thinking that I have a lot of pictures that I have had stored and they've moved to, it's time for me to do something with them. But also even the digital stuff, like sometimes I forget what the hell I have in the phone or in my computer, but especially my phone, until you get the memory thing pops up and you're like, oh my God. And it's from like 8 years ago and you're looking
Yes.
8 years ago on this day. And I gotta say,
That's
I
one thing
am
about
so
Facebook I
grateful.
love.
And I love it about my iPhone too, is I'm grateful for that because it is such a joyous thing to like pop up. But I've got to figure something out because I would really, really like to take the phone, the pictures on my phone and store them in such a way so that I can do a slideshow periodically. Like that would be kind of cool to be able to sit with my kids and then just project it onto the TV and then do a slideshow to say, oh my God, do you remember that picture? Do you remember that picture? I think that would be fun.
I think it is. I think all that stuff when you sit with your kids, or your elder, aging parents, hola Iritza, that to just travel down a happy memory lane, holding hands, skipping, laughing, till your stomach hurts. Those are good memories to be made.
Good morning, Desiree.
Um,
Desiree says, I get free prints once a month. I like to have them in print still to look at it in a tangible way. You
yeah, I
get
used
free
to love
prints
that
how?
too until I
How do you get
gathered
free prints?
four boot boxes of them, and I carried those boot boxes. But they were the ones that came decorated, and I've had them since 1997. That Iritza gave me as gifts, and they're like all cracked on the edges. But I kept the pictures in those boxes because that was the boxes for the pictures, right? And it's time to just let go.
Good
Sometimes
morning,
we
Stephanie.
fall so
Stephanie.
much in love with what was that we miss out on what is. But the pictures, yeah, the pictures are good to go through and everything. But when people like, how could you get rid of them? I always visualize, what if my house burned and everything I own burned? I still
Yeah.
have me and them to make new memories. So that's how I'm that drastic when I'm weighing out whether I'm gonna throw something away or not. Because really, am I gonna die? No? Okay, garbage. Because as humans, the tangible stuff we tend to hold on to like a life raft. And there comes a time where you're a baby hoarder already because they're just so cute, or because they're pictures of the babies, or because this and that. And so I've come to the thing where, you know what, it's they were great memories. I'm gonna remember it. I'll take a picture of it. Like yesterday, I'm going through pictures and I ran into my favorite picture with Eric, so I posted it as one of my favorites. And that picture was taken like in 2009. Yeah, that's when I was like, "Ooh, young and beautiful." But the thing is that,
You're still young and beautiful.
yeah, and so it was my favorite picture with Eric, and the picture is ebony and ivory, and you could like really see our features in it. But it's one of my favorites, so I posted it. Um, and that's it. It's on. So now, and I know it's already in a Facebook memory from years ago, but then the picture's gone. And I feel good when I do that. And I know it takes practice. I know Elitza is still, um, me too. I love to touch the pictures like Margie love reading a real book. Yeah. But then you get, I'm glad you're reading, Petey. You have to, what is it? I become. What are you becoming? a baby hoarder, a collector of memories, or a warrior of your now, owning your now, and that's
I
you can
have
do
become,
both.
I have, with regards to that, I have become more discriminant or discerning with regards to what I keep. So you said something really big. You said, if there was like a fire, it's gone. Like that stuff is gone. So I've condensed quite a bit my pictures, even like anything. Like I kept certain clothes of my children when they were little, but I've kept it very minimal, but it's there. And I'm going to do exactly what Madeline said. Madeline said that she created boxes with her kids' names on it with their pictures in it, which is what my mother did too. And I'm going to do that with my kids as well so that they can take them. But I also have detached, not become non-attached, not detached, non-attached in that if, God forbid, I lost them, fire, flood, whatever, then I release it. But I have them and they're just the right amount. And one of these days, and I know people always say one of these days, and one of these days never comes. I do want to take my digital pictures and I want to put them into books because you could do that online. You can just time consuming, but you could take your pictures. I already made one for my mother years ago as a gift, and and the kids made one for their father years ago. But it's like I want to be able to do that and then have one book of one kid, one book of another. Then I hold on to it, but then I give that to them. But it also takes those digital pictures and puts them in. It's a book where you could put multiple pictures on one page.
Mm-hmm.
So you could take like 500 pictures and make one book, and boom, that's incredible. But it's one of those things that I would love that as a project, and then work on it like a couple of hours a week or 3 hours a week, and then have it so that it's not a burden. It's not taking up bins and bins of stuff. It's just it's there, and it's like, and if my kids want it, they can have it. Because what happens when nobody's left? Like when we got this house, they cleared everything out of this house, and there was a lot of stuff in this house, and there was a lot of stuff in the barn, and it would have been interesting to have gotten hold of some of that stuff, because while some of it might have been junk, it's like one man's junk is another man's treasure. But
Mm-hmm.
they forgot about the shed in the way back of the property, and the shed was it's like a 20-foot long shed, and it was stacked with stuff, but there was a lot of personal things in there. And as I was going through stuff, I'm like, what should I do with these? Like, should I contact, the owner's both in a home, but the daughter, like one of the offspring. And I'm like, should I collect it and then, contact her and say, would you like these? But she may say no, and then they just get thrown out. They just get put in the garbage. And it was a little saddening, the thought of that. But at the same time, we have to know that there is a point where we have to let go. And I have become the person that is better at letting go. Like, it's been a process over the years. I've had certain things that have been hard to let go of, and that's why the move had to come into play. But even just like sentimental value, like for years I wanted to buy my mother's house, because there was that sentimental thing. And then finally I was like, I don't want this. This doesn't represent me. This is not my kind of house. This isn't where I want to be. So that's where I love that. That's the person that I have become. I have become non-attached, not detached, non-attached. And I stay connected to the things that are important to me. But if the pictures disappeared, I'd be sad, but I still have the memory.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you. You said your mother sorted all three out for you and your siblings. What did you do with your box of memorabilia? Do you still have it? You still carry it from house to house?
Well, I mean, it was only one house, this house. That's where I carried it to. She had it at her house. I just took it, and I have it. I have one bin, just one bin of printed pictures. And so I'm going to be going through that bin, and I'm excited because I haven't looked through that bin in a long time. I mean, I
The
have
one your
pictures of
mother
the
created?
No, my mother, I added that, the stuff that I took it out of her bin and put it into mine. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
everything. It
Because
wasn't a big bin of her stuff, of my stuff.
my niece's grandmother, she was the first granddaughter on her paternal side, and she collected everything from her first clip of hair, the first tooth that came out, every first outfit, every single paper that she drew for the grandma. I mean, her, she had everything from her birth print marks all the way until Stephanie's associate's graduation here in Florida. Everything went. So she had kindergarten cap and gown, like you name it, from there on high school cap and gown, so forth, so forth. So then she passes away, and guess what? Nobody wanted the bin. Stephanie sure didn't. And I was sad. I was like, oh. So my sister took it. So my sister now has it. And it is sad because she collected that because that's what made her happy.
Yes.
But then what happens with all these boundaries we build that because somebody created something that made them happy, why is the expectation from everyone around those two people that the person that all the things were saved from is responsible to inherit it? So you see what I'm saying? So sometimes we feel obligated or we feel like we have to because they did so. And I think
Yes.
when you are becoming your true self, you have to really look around you and see what roots are from you and which ones came from the adjoining trees that are strangling yours, because sometimes the line is blurred, and the guilt that we receive, especially as Latinas, we're always like, pero como, how you're not gonna have that, but your grandmother saved that for you and blah blah, because they do it with dinner. Well, what do you mean you ate but I cooked? You're gonna have to eat, and then you're eating and feeling sick. So what I'm saying, for those who understand that part, but I think that the concept of me saving something and then having the expectation that because it's everything, because I have the first T-shirts when onesies that they wore on their way home from um, four of my grandkids, my four grandkids, and I went to them the other day, so I folded them each individually, and I'm gonna hand it to them. Hey, you want your first onesie? And some are pink, some are doo-doo brown, one is white, and some have little, colorful thread characters. But the thing is that they're gonna say no. And if they say yeah, good. And what they're gonna do with it? Throw it in their sock drawer. So what I'm saying is, when we become who we are, we gotta understand that we gotta ask ourselves, when we do get the courage to go through our things, why am I holding on to it? And if I am, where am I gonna place it? Where it's gonna be viewed, where I'm gonna feel its existence instead of tucked away in a box, in the cellar, in the attic, in the shed. So I think, we do hold on to things, but remember, when we're too busy stretching our hand down to hell, the one going up towards heaven is kind of short sighted, isn't it? Because you're stretching down. So I think when you become the person that you fought so hard to become, you got to look at what's weighing you down, or what have you carried with you that has you looking more back to make sure it's safe than forward to where you're supposed to be. And
I
until we
think
learn that people, places, and things do not create who we become, but who we understand ourselves to be, then it'll be easy to let go. When I began my purging 2 years ago, let me tell you, it's a grand difference. Did it affect me? Of course it did, because we're human, because things are attached to people, places, and things. Yesterday I found one of my old wallets, and I had every single receipt of my first Camino in 2017, which were all fucking faded. But there were some that had the stamp on it, the ink from the stamp, not the ink on a receipt paper. And I was like, oh my God, I held on to all this, and it all went one handful, boom, in the garbage. So, it's like, um, to each its own. But when you're feeling stagnant, when you feel like there's no really energy going forward, sit with yourself, find a safe space, and ask yourself, if I am lacking energy to move forward, then what is holding my energy to fall backwards? Because sometimes we put so much energy in what was that we don't have anything to show up for ourselves in what is.
Yeah, that's correct. That's so
So, and a lot of that stuff, remember, energy attaches to everything. And
yes.
sometimes mixed in between the
Good and
happy memories of those tangible items we want, there were not so happy memories. And that energy is still floating there. So, you know what? Use discernment, choose wisely for your life, and don't choose to hold on to memories of. There are children, but yeah, their children are going to go on and make children. That's why yesterday I sent my daughter so many pictures, and she was like, "Nah, I don't want them. Nah, I don't want them. Nah, I don't want them." And I thought they were like the most beautiful pictures. It's like how like this one.
Oh
My Tiffany. She wasn't even one. I think she was 11 months old.
my God. Oh my God,
Okay.
she's so
And
cute.
then um wait, but there was another one. And then it's like, and then you have these that I saved on my phone. Anaya, when her hair was growing back after she went through chemo for 7 months,
Oh my
you know,
God.
and and then Stephanie when she graduated. It's
Oh my
so
God,
they're
so
beautiful
beautiful.
pictures. They really are. And then of my son when he was little that I'm gonna torture him with. And then I had this one. Remember back in the day when all our parents, I don't know about you, Lori, but I know Puerto Ricans would all put their pictures on wood plaques. I'm gonna give a minute for somebody to say if you had a
That is a Puerto
portrait
Rican thing.
with that put on wood picture frames and then shellac so shiny the glare would
Yes,
blind you. Come on, I'm gonna wait.
yes. Yep, that I my ex mother-in-law had them all hanging. Like we would always give her an 8 by 10. We would always have to order two 8 by 10s of our kids' school pictures so that we kept one and then she got one.
Look at me and my sister. Uh,
Oh my God,
on
look
the
at
wood
you.
plaque. And it's like a little 5 by 7 wood plaque. But um, so my kids ain't young, Desiree. They're almost 38 and 34. And some I saved. No, no, don't get me wrong. I did save quite a few. Because who could throw this face out?
Oh my God. Good morning, Georgianne. Nice to see you. You know, he looks the same. He
But
just
let me
he's
but let me tell
thinner.
you
Like
this
he's thinner.
one. This one I saved too, Laura. Call me an self-absorbed, but I saved this one.
Oh my God. You look like Lisa from
Yeah.
Cult Jam.
Well, this was early 90s. Yeah, I look like the Lion Queen. Look at that.
Ooh, baby, I think I love you from head to toe. You look just like her. Oh my God, that's so funny.
And but what I'm saying is you make okay, if there's 50 pictures, if I kept 8 out of 12, then I'm happy. I'm not saying I threw every single one out. I'm saying, you know what? I didn't need, and I know that there was a lot of pictures that I have in my Facebook albums and in my album, whatever. But what I'm saying is, we got to realize that when we are carrying memories of that involved other people all around us, it becomes a burden, not only on our bodies, our minds, but our spirits. And you might think it doesn't, but it does because then remember, I know everybody has heard it and I may be saying it different, but when your arms are filled to capacity, carrying all of yesterday's memories that belong to everybody around you that you love, where is the room for your new blessings of your now? Where can God say, okay, this is coming to you when you're still holding on to whatever happened yesterday? It doesn't happen like that. You got to be willing, able, arms spread open to receive what's coming in your now and in your near now, because whatever's coming can't come from your yesterday. It can't. Those are just memories. It's like the emotions that come today come to you to go through you. That creates a memory. So when you're going forward, you're a bit confused. Should I go this way? Should I go that way? You're like, this looks familiar. Guess what? You look back into your memories. You get clear directions, or you get a clarity that said, I don't think any of these are. Let me get the hell out of here. You see? But that's what they're for glances back and maybe a little guidance, but not to go back and sit with it and then waste the day you have today. You got to
Well,
become something. What is it I am becoming? Go ahead, badass.
and this is a good point too. Like looking, let's tie it into what we've been talking about with the pictures. You look back at that, and especially when you look back at your own pictures, like Lisa over there,
Ah, what?
it's it's you look back and you say, what have I become? Look, compared to that, who was I back then, and what have I become? And boy, I'll tell you, if you look back at pictures from just like 5-10 years ago, and you have not changed much. I'm not talking about your physical appearance. I'm talking about we looking at those pictures and saying, who was I then and who am I now? And if the person you are now is not much different, and it's not in a positive way, that's a really good like push to say, okay, I've got to rethink things, because I'm looking back at that and going, I'm the same person that I was. So when I look back at my pictures, I look back at pictures from like 10 years ago, even 8 years ago, I have become a completely different person. And and then if I look back at pictures from like 2 years ago, I definitely stagnated to a certain level. My growth kind of stymied. But I am not the person that I was. I am definitely 50% namaste and 50% go F yourself. I have never been that person. I was an avid people pleaser when, for the first 40 years of my life, I was an avid people pleaser. And it took me another 2 years to push away from that. And I, I'm so happy that I'm not that person anymore. So I have become somebody who still could be kind and happy and herself, but have boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big thing for me, because when I look back at some of those pictures, they bring back joyous memories, but they're also attached to some painful ones because of choices that I made and the people that I chose to be around and what I allowed people to do to me and
Mm-hmm.
control, because I allowed it, because that's who I was. And so now I'm thinking, okay, that's not me anymore. So I am fully responsible for me. I'm fully responsible for my choices. And if I make a bad choice, I will take accountability for it. So while some of those pictures I look back, I mean, I had some really cool things that I did in my 20s. I've shared that with the tribe before. I mean, when I was in my 20s, I was in a pretty crappy marriage, but we were adventurous people. Like, we would do a lot of things. And I worked at a zoo, and I was, handling wild animals, and it was pretty cool. So looking back at that, it brings back really cool memories of that cool things. But then there's that shadow behind it of the price that I had to pay to live that, when I could have lived that life, but also been very happy with everything around me, because I was living according to my
Mm-hmm.
according to my choices, my standards. But that's who I've become. I've learned from that. So that's part of my becoming, is I have become a person who's learned from her past experiences and is much more confident now and happier, because I'm me and I'm in charge of me, and I don't have to worry about what other people say.
I think when you can honestly and courageously say, I am becoming or I have become, it is because of the dark valleys we had to endure. It is because we fell in love with the wrong person who didn't reciprocate our love, and instead of just walking away, mistreated us and abused us mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I think that we should never walk away shameful saying, I chose that. No, you really just, you chose love, and things don't always work out. Two individuals come out to be that way. But in the midst of your sadness, right? you went and found peace choosing those jobs. Had you not been in that location with that person, you probably wouldn't be working at those jobs. So, I mean,
Oh, yes,
so
I
we
agree.
really can't say, oh, hola, Sonia. Sonia is
And
like
hi, Warnett. Warnett
my
is in
high school. Hi, Juanette. But, so when you say, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed about what I did. Well, what else happened in that period? Because, it's Maktab, and I believe that you can't do one without the other. There's
yes,
no bright days without the darkness coming, and there's no darkness that lives through, it only lives through till the morning. And I think that's how we have to say. I think the biggest mistake we can have is when we've lived lives that we could have done without some of the chapters, is that we didn't learn from it, or that we don't glance back at those memories and say, okay, no, we ain't doing that shit again. And just to have a quick, refresher course, not to go back there and says, oh, but then no, because remember, we had a show that said, if you say, I feel good, but blah, 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 that but erased or diminished or like really insulted the compliment you said beforehand.
yeah,
And it removes all that good stuff. So if anything, whoever you're speaking with, all they hear is what you said after the but. So
true
you
enough.
just like devalued what you said prior to that. So we talked about that. How big is your butt? And then we spoke about it in other things. So we have to like be careful what we speak, and we have to travel down memory lane. But you know what? Don't go on the slow poke train. It's like medium or that speeding ass train that just takes you to where you gotta go. Remember, okay, I'm back. Let's go back. That's how we have to live it, because if you become so accustomed to backhandling all the time, how are you going to move forward? Where's there space to move forward? You got to create your space. I'm not going to create that space for you. The badass Buddha is it. I'm not creating that space for the badass Buddha, nor can she do it for me.
Right.
And all of the knowledge and all of our specialties, whether they they hold hands or they're running parallel to one another, because we also do that, we can assist, we can provide information, we can lend that shoulder, we can give them the paño to dry their tears, but we cannot do anything for one another that we do not allow ourselves to do. So all this year, it all goes about, what are you willing to do? To what length are you willing to travel for yourself? Don't worry about who's helping you. But what do you do to get there? When you do need assistance, that's when you really like take a whole radar as to who has been there for you or who showed up when you needed them the most. And don't keep score, because you can find yourself. And I think I had a conversation with the badass Buddha where I said, I don't want to be that person. Right? I don't want to be that person. So I'm just going to pray on it. Because it's so easy to fall back into on your back with your legs up. Woe is me, nobody loves me. Is it what's the word that I used? It didn't hurt my feelings. What was the word that I used? Anyway, you. It's about you. It's about you and who you look up to. Do you have a higher power? Do you listen to the universe? Do you pray on the stars? Do you just believe in angels? To me, it's Yahweh. I sit in prayer and I'm like, oh my God, this doesn't even feel right, but I need your help. And that's my relationship, because at the end of the day, it's he and I going into battle. That's how I know. I don't believe in God. I know him.
Mm.
So at the end of the day, whenever I gotta face a reality, when I gotta face a poor choice, or when I gotta face these fucking obstacle courses, like why do I like? Am I that much of a surviving warrior? Why do I gotta constantly be in a survival course, going over shit, through, under, you know? But that's how you look at it, because I have become who I am because of what I went through, looking forward to where I'm going.
Yes.
And I can't bring everything from my past, no matter how cute, how sentimental it was. I have my biggest blessing, my business biggest takeaway is that I have my children. I communicate with my children. I communicate with my grandkids. Yesterday, my granddaughter called, Grandma, you coming over? And I said, I wanted to, but I have to take care of some business after Viva tomorrow. She's like, well, okay, handle your business. But I just want you to know that I bleached the shit out of the bathroom because you were coming. I thought you were coming today. And I thought that that was like beautiful. She didn't get upset, but because she knows my habits, she did that. And I was like, I said, Mama, you didn't have to. And so it's a comfort thing. But the thing is, that's my now. That's where we're living now because we've learned each other. But that don't mean they have to hold on to everything because then it gets in the way of what you're doing now, preparing for tomorrow. And so
Yes.
I don't know what it is you have that you're carrying. Anger, resentment, you know,
But that's to
unrequited love.
become, that's why we did this too. There was reminder this month is if that is who you have become, you're carrying the resentment, the anger. That was me the last like few months, so you have to become aware of that reality. You have to admit that to yourself and say, oh my God, this is who I've become. And people might have been telling you that and you didn't want to hear it, and maybe the people that are telling you that are part of the problem too, but you have to stop and you have to consider, even when you don't want to hear it from people that the last people that, because they're part of the problem and you don't want to hear it, but you have to sit back and say, is what they say possible? Do they have merit? And
Mm-hmm.
then why? If this is true, that I've become this miserable, resentful person, why? And then what am I going to do about it? So I have become a person who has become more aware, more honest with herself, a person who has taken more accountability, a person who is willing to admit that she was stuck for a while, for a couple of years now, and knew she had to make a change and knew that the change would be the new person she would become. And already just being here for a few days, I feel so different. And now I am happy because I have become the person that I have wanted to be. I've let go of a lot of things just in 4 days by changing my environment. And so you have to sit with that and really be honest with yourself and say, I've become, like Edith said, she said she's still working on becoming, not being a people pleaser anymore. And you have to decide, okay, then I have to say no. I don't care who likes it or not. And you decide, okay, in a month, if I revisit this, am I still that people pleaser? And if you are, then you have to ask yourself why. What
Mm-hmm.
is it that you are not dealing with that is preventing you from moving forward, and again, I was that people pleaser. I am not a people pleaser anymore. I have not been a people pleaser. In fact, I've pissed a lot of people off because I've stopped being such a people pleaser. But there are certain individuals that I was finding I needed to do more for. And so I had to pull away from that because I was doing it for the wrong reasons, and it was coming from a place that I was not feeling good about, and a lot of it was like guilt, and that's not a good place to come from. So I have become a person that is willing to admit to bad choices, mistakes, but also and being accountable to them, but also standing up for myself. I've become a person who has stood up for herself. I've become a person who is unapologetically courageous. I will apologize for the things that I know I've done wrong, but I will not apologize for my beliefs and I will not apologize for what I think
Nope.
and what I observe. Like I'm not
Never.
going to apologize for that because I see what I see, and I have become a person who sees clearer than I have ever seen before. I have become a person who has observed her world with a clarity that she never had before. And I'm so happy for that. And Gladiator Guru is right. I had to go through what I went through to finally become that person. So
But
with
true.
that bad always comes good as long as you learned something from it.
You're living a facade of a world. You're living um, in a corner projecting on everybody else. If you truly believe that everything bad that comes your way, that you're cursed, or I can't believe this has happened, I don't deserve this, because yin yang, it's the balance of life. You got the light and you got the darkness, you got the good and you got the bad, and you cannot learn from one without the other. You simply cannot. And badass Buddha says something about when something about when someone comes to you, you ask why. You said in the beginning, when somebody offends you or does something, you want to know the why. But right, did you remember what you said? And I think sometimes when we get, I've listened to many women talk about, and this happened and they said this and I can't believe they said that knowing it was going to hurt me, and so on and so forth. And when I asked, well, what's your role?
Right.
What was your role in that, in that chaotic relationship, or in the downfall of that relationship, or the hiccup in that relationship? Because sometimes we create such a dark cloud over something that was just a sprinkle. And because we just become this victim, or it's everybody's fault but ours. So I think when you ask that why, you also got to say who and when did this occur? Who was I in that moment when this occurred? And then you might be able to help answer your why. But all of that has to be when you're being honest with yourself. Because you know what? I'm always the villain in somebody's story, always. And I'm so okay with that, because
She
um,
really is okay with that
I
too.
really am, because I become the villains in people's story because I say shit that offends them, and it offends them because they don't want to face it. And if they don't want to face it, it's not their reality. So they're always the victim. So you see, I'll be the villain in your story because I'm never going to be the victim, not even in my motherfucking chapters. Okay, because it lowers your vibration, and you can't function on low vibration, because then you're always the woe is me, the attention seeker, seeking
Yes.
validation, accolades,
Yes.
acknowledgments. So, the reality of life is tighten up. Put your big girl panties on, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And you know what? You got to ask yourselves, with everything we've been speaking on, is that, are you here? Are you present in your life? Not mine, not the badass, not your parents, not your kids. Are you present in yours? And if you got to add a but to it, then get to the back of the line. I am, but I'm really show up because my grandkids need me. My kids need me. Go back to the back of the line. You're taking up space right now. This is about you. And if you can't show up for yourself, then you really can't be in this line. See how I'm the villain? But at the end of the day, the people who are making themselves a priority have been waiting in line. They're waiting for their
You're only the villain because people don't want to hear it. And this is and like look at what Madeline said. Madeline says it's a journey and process until you want to see, you can't see. And that is
absolutely.
absolutely true. You were always able to see. We just didn't want to actually acknowledge what we saw. And that's really true because when you were talking about the why, so for instance, when I found out that my husband had been, or my ex-husband now, but when I found out that he was cheating on me, not just like a one night stand, but for the 14 years that we were together, I had to come to, like, I asked him in the heat of our arguments in the beginning of everything. I asked him, why? Like, why did you do this? Like, why were you this person? And he couldn't answer me. He probably could, but he didn't want to. But it didn't matter because I was asking the wrong why. I had to ask, why didn't I see this? Why did I ignore? And then when I started to say, well, I did see things. Well, why did I ignore the red flags? Why did I ignore the signs? So I had to ask myself the why. Why did I stay when there were so many issues with that marriage that were even beyond the infidelity? The way he treated me, the way he talked to me. So I had to asking him the why he did what he did, or why he acted the way he acted, makes no difference.
But
It's
how many
done.
times did it take you asking that to realize that?
Oh, it took me years to, because even in my growth, even when I was really working on myself and I was becoming a stronger person, there were times where I would go back to that and I wanted to know why. Like, why did you do this? And he would say, I don't know. And the thing is, because you wanted to. I mean, that's like, there's no other, like,
People
why
don't
did you
cheat
do
because
it?
they're
Because you hate.
miserable. They cheat because they can.
Yes.
Because the
Well, they want
partner
to.
is oblivious to their changes. So they can go out and do that by showing a little bit of, "Mwah, okay, but you know what? I'm a cop. I'm a doctor."
Well, this was long before he was a cop. I mean, he
No, I'm
actually
saying
was.
because they'll say because I'm a cop, I'm a doctor, because I'm the doorman, or because I've my co-workers, sisters, whatever. It's dangerous out there. Don't go out. And then you're like, oh, he loves me so much. Look at how concerned that he is. And then they go do what they can, because we have silently given them permission to go live a life outside of us by us being so docile and so
Yes. Oh,
submissive.
I admit that.
And
He definitely got me to be that person.
so the lights on nobody's home type of chick, that it's like you're a doormat now, but you're a stable doormat. So I'm not going to get rid of you, because you do everything else right, but I'm still going to live my life and do whatever I got to do. And you're not going to know, because I just give you the right amount of to satisfy you, because
Exactly.
they're so in love with me, they're not going to ask me for more than I give, because then they're going to be afraid that they're asking too much. I mean, it's a whole gambit of shit, right?
Yes.
So, not that anybody deserves to be treated and cheated on, because if you are that loving, trusting spouse and they're considering you a doormat, then when you wake up, you have enough ammunition to shoot the bitch to the other side of the world. Like, I don't need you, you're out. And sometimes it takes longer than another for you to wake up, but you don't wake up because you know what's happening, but you don't want to face it, because if you acknowledge it, then you got to accept it. And if you accept it, now you got to make changes, and you don't have the energy or the strength to make changes because you're too wounded. And it's a cycle. So when you break out of it, her story isn't about her ex cheating on her. Her story is about, I put my big girl panties on, and looking back, I didn't even realize I had bootstraps to lift myself up from, but damn, they were in the closet in the back, but they were there. And that's her story. And that's what you got to come out of it saying, that this happened and I'll never know the why, but let me tell you the how I got the hell up out of there. And that's really the story. You were victimized, but you're not a victim. Sonia says, so it's so true. I knew why I stood with him. It was my selflessness, low self-esteem, no confidence in myself that I would be able to do it alone with 5 kids. That's why I stood. We all have our whys, and then we all come out of it and we wake up. Remember, your story and my story and her story could all be the same. It could have all started the same. We could have all met at the First Wives Cheaters Club. Dan, you've been cheated on too. Wait, do you know the person who cheated on you? No. And once a week we meet up because our men are cheating on us, and we're trying to strategize as to how to get the most out of it while we walk away, right? But it doesn't mean that I'm going to leave my man the same time Badass Buddha's going to leave hers, or that Sonia's going to leave hers. We all have a different destiny. That's why we should always support one another in these issues. When you become confident in yourself to say, you know what, I've been there. And I can't take this journey with you, but just let me know if you need anything. And that's the
Yes.
best support you can give somebody going through
Yeah.
something. Because we might have met when we all found out, what the fuck, we're being cheated on, and your world is crashing in, and you're looking at your kids and all they do is cry because they're sensing your low energy, and you're wondering why they're crying. You can't shut them the hell up, and it's driving you even more crazy. But when that gun goes off, that we got to make changes, everybody's going to run and walk at their speed. And the only thing that we should give, that we have to give, is honor and respect that at least we're moving in a direction towards ourselves and everyone. And if you got there first, then it is your purpose to hold the light for the other ones to see the way there. And that's with positive words. That's showing up when they need you, not when they don't. That's not giving advice unless they ask you point blank. And sometimes you got to bite your tongue. And that was my biggest problem. So, you know what I mean? Everybody goes at their own. But when you become that beautiful individual that maybe is not Hercules, but you're climbing up to that, you learn with every painful step. You learn a little more about yourself. And when you get up there, there's no shame in what you went through, because you had to go through what you went through to be the badass that you are today. And that's just life. Never be ashamed of what happened, whether to you or what you got yourself into. You know, you can't be ashamed of it, because that's your baseline of your story. You know, so I ask, are you here? Are you here? Are you in the front row seat? The VIP section, perhaps? You know, are you the esteemed guest in your life? And we talked about this. Are you that important person that bought the most expensive?
I've had many rows. I've been in many seats in my life.
We mostly sat in the nosebleed section in our own lives, and then we want to blame everybody, and we want to be angry. And
And
I
the
can't believe
irony
they
and
did
the
that to
irony
me.
and the
Go ahead.
irony is when you're in the nosebleed sections, like you're yelling down and nobody can hear you. You know, it's like the coach, instead of being on the sidelines, the coach is up in the nosebleed trying to give directions. You know, and that's like, we're either, because listen, sometimes we are not on the playing field in our lives. Sometimes we do have to sit on the side and wait for the next play. I act like I know sports, but I'm just saying from watching it. And but it's true. It's like we're playing, but we do have to rest sometimes, and we do have to let other people kind of run things a little bit, and then we go back and play. And the beauty is that's the beauty of connection and relationships, because you take both, you know. But the question is when you go to sit for a moment in your life, are you sitting on the sidelines, or are you sitting in, like, you just go right to the back? Well, I'll see you in a little while because I'm headed up to the nosebleed section. I'm going to be there a while because it's going to take me a while to get there. And that's what I knew, that when all this happened and I started to become myself, the real person I was meant to be, that's what I did, because I allowed other people to dictate that for me. No, this is, I know what's better for you. And they didn't always say it that way. They would move me into a direction that they wanted, and then I would just go sit and let them run the show. Then they would put me out there and make me think that I was running things, and then put me back in to the seats. And it took me a long time to realize that I was allowing them to dictate when I would play in my life and when I wouldn't. And it's trickery, because you think that you're playing in your life. It's the, what's the word I'm looking for, Gladiator Guru? It's when you think that this is, it's a charade. Not a charade. It's
The facade that we
it's
be
not
lying
a
to
facade.
ourselves.
It said it the other day on Tuesday's show. It's a mirage.
Oh yeah.
They make you think that you are doing that, and then they put you. And again, it's because of my own lack of awareness. So I know what role they played, and I say they because he wasn't the only one. It was my first husband. It was friends. It was bosses. It was family members. But now it's like, okay, I'm awake here. I'm in the driver's seat. You know, and you're not pretending. I'm catching and noticing when you're pretending to make me look like I'm in charge. I'm in charge of my life, period. You don't dictate me. You don't tell me, you know, we can work together, but I'm in charge. And and now I'm a lot more aware of when the person tries to work their way into pushing me into a direction. And then I can make the decision and say, yeah, I'll go. Because sometimes you could still go into a direction that somebody's pushing you, as long as you have your boundaries. No, I don't mind doing that. But
As long
that's
as
all
you
I'm
take your
doing.
own car.
That's right.
Stop being a backseat rider
Take your own
or a
car.
passenger. Take your own damn car so you can leave whenever you want. That's having control of your life. People are like, oh, let's just try to save gas, and you really don't want to go, but you get in anyway. It's not their fault they stood an hour or two longer. It's not. And you said if your bosses, your exes, your friends, and sometimes the reality of our past is if that many people manipulated us and took advantage of us, we got to ask, where was I in all this? What did I choose at this time? And that's your ammunition in your today. Like, hell no, I'll never be without that. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And you're right. Somebody says that they don't get away scot-free. No, karma always bites us in the ass during this time in our life. Let me tell you. So the last thing I asked you was, are you the esteemed guest in your life? Are you in the VIP section, right? Because then, and these are
Yeah.
questions, so anybody can say write anything. Are you fully living? And right now, can you honestly say, not only are you in charge of that lighthouse, being a beacon of light for others around you, because you have found the courage and the strength to light that fire within you, to have that light lit within you. Now remember, we're humans. We're finicky little fuckers. It's gonna be good days. It's gonna be bad choice days. It's gonna be I don't care days. It's gonna be all types of days, but they're all your days. Whether you choose not to do anything today, whether you choose to clear out that closet, whether you choose to go to that appointment, whether you choose to have that interview, whether you choose whatever. But no matter what it is you're doing, there's no right or wrong to it because it is what you want to be doing. And then you are incorporating um, a get together. So you're inviting people into your life, or if they've invited you, you've chosen to be a part of their moment in that day. Remember, when you are in charge of who you are, then you're living. You're not just doing, you're actually being. So the next one is, are you fully living, or do you live a little and die a lot?
Oh, ouch. But that's very powerful statement
Yes, it is. Do you live a little
or
and die
question.
a
That's
lot?
very
These are my people pleasers. These are my Captain Save a Hose. These are my fixers. This is the question for you. Are you too busy living for everyone else that your spirit, your soul, your core feels like the light is ready to be out?
yes.
Do you die a lot in your day that you're so exhausted you can't even wash your own ass because you were too busy doing it for everybody else? So
Yeah. I like
is
what
that all
if let
happening
me
while you're still breathing? Right?
let, let me show what Madeline wrote. And everybody's writing some incredible stuff. Um, Madeline says, I'd rather make a mistake off my instincts and inner voice than from someone else's choices.
Exactly.
That is who you have become. You've become that person because you said, okay, listen, I'm owning my shit and I'm owning myself and I'm walking in my truth. That the difference is that when we come from that place of I I'd rather blame somebody else, or I have an expectation, or I'm letting, then when they make the choice, then we could, oh, well, it was their fault. You know, like if I could sit there and say, oh, it was my ex's fault that our marriage ended. Well, it was his fault. I mean, he was an asshole. I mean, he really was. I mean, we're good now. I mean, we're friends now, but because he is who he is and he has grown and I'm proud of him. But that's all there is. Like there's just friendship. That is all there is.
Mm-hmm.
But I could sit there and say, oh, it was his fault. Yes, it was. Because if he didn't do any of those things and if he treated me with respect, we would have still been married.
Exactly.
But I have to own the fact that I didn't nip this shit in the bud when we first started dating. Because if I had laid down the law, like the person I am now would have never ever put up with anything because I would have caught the behavior. I would have seen the things that were being said. I would have heard what was being said. I would have seen the behaviors, and I would have been like, yeah, I don't think so. I'm out. Because I look back and there were a couple of things that happened in the beginning that there was that part of me deep down that said, I don't know about this. Like something's off here. But my insecurities overrode
Your
what
gut.
my gut, right? And so now it's my instincts that I go by if it's not feeling right, but also my knowledge of what I've learned how to read people. And so it's very, I love it. I take full responsibility for my choices, even if they were not good, even if they were not good, because I know that I'm brave enough to be able to handle it. So the days of me, because I did play the victim for quite a while because I was raised that way. And I know I'm making that as an excuse, but I was around a lot of people who played the victim role and it worked. It's a very good way to manipulate people sometimes, but it's also a good way to be manipulated.
That's
And
funny you said that because um, how different life is. I've never been a victim, even when I was victimized. But I'm paying the price for it now. Because my mother always played the victim role. I always, since a tender age of less than 10, uh, uh, found her to be pathetic and weak and pathetic. And so I went to the other side of the spectrum. So it kept people at a distance from me. People just thought I was, difficult or whatever, angry. And it wasn't none of that. It was just something I didn't want to become, didn't want to be like that. So I went to the other side of the spectrum and I became a survivor. But in that, I've lived the majority of my life on survival mode, and my body is just saying, just relax, bitch, just relax. And that's where I'm heading to now is the healing of the body. Um, because when we are in those situations, and what we choose to choose at that very innocent age is do you live a little or do you die a lot? And I think either way, whatever you choose, Badass chose to be the same thing she was raised in. Her environment is, to be a victim. And I lived to be the total opposite of what I grew up in. But I think that the outcome is still the same. We still suffer those choices in our adult life. And they're not the same type of lessons we're learning, but they're still lessons that we are learning. So, and Sonia, my instincts are keeping me solo. I find something. Okay. But let me tell you this, what I've learned in my somatic training that I've been doing to heal my body. Now I got to go find a somatic massager. But do you know, I said, because I've been like, didn't date at all in 6 years. So it's like, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm strong. But then something came up and it like slapped me in the face. And it said that we we think it's something like that, but it's not. It is because, yeah, a trauma. Um, it is, what the hell did they call it? It is, Lori,
yes,
it is our fear of being hurt, our fear of someone dying, our fear of someone walking away, and we looking at it as we're strong individuals. But you don't have to answer, Sonia,
it's
but tell me, when
abandonment.
you do
It's the
watch a
fear
love
of abandonment.
scene, a love story, does it make you cry? Like you get overwhelmed with it? That's where you got to deal with. But I wanted to finish. So, are you present in your life today? And I ask, do you live a little or die a lot while still breathing? Because I do not have time to die, not even a little, until it's time for me to die. So you have to understand that I love love. We love love stories because we want love, but we built this war, and then we think we're like these gladiator warriors, walking around like, I don't need nobody. Yeah, I need to be touched, so we all need that. And through conversations with the badass in the past about this, and then reading up on it, because I love to do my research on it. Am I wrong? Why am I feeling this way? And then all of that made true, because when I self isolated and healed my spirit and my soul, now the body needs to be healed, and we got to do that for ourselves. We got to be fully present in our now to understand where we came from, so that it can give us clarity and direction as to where we're supposed to be going. And we can't do that without creating, blending the three. It's like the Holy Trinity. Where am I now? Oh, this was the road paved to where I'm now. Why I'm in the belief system I am today is because of what happened to me yesterday. And then turn around. You just need, okay. And then turn around and then you can see where you're going right from where you're at. If you can't do that for yourself,
Can I?
let's just let's just grow into the beautiful human beings we were born to be. Let's let go of what that we don't need, let go of what hurt us, what pained us, what made us feel stupid and ashamed of ourselves. Because people have made us feel stupid and ashamed. And maybe we deserve that to happen to us because where we were, because of what happened. I'm sure at one point or another, we've all said that to ourselves. Let's let that go. That doesn't have room for us right now. When you're becoming who the fuck you're supposed to be, you got to act like the leader in your tribe. You got to be the one to lead that army out into the battlefield because you know all the techniques and you hold the ammunition to protect your you. And that's it.
Hey, before we go, I know we're a little over time, but I want to share a quick story with you. And I don't like to toot my own horn sometimes.
Toot it.
I don't really do it. I don't really do it too often, but I want to just share this because it's relevant. So, my daughter got married 2 weeks ago, and she asked me to be the officiant, right? And I was very touched by this. I was like, oh my God, this will be great. Very honored to be asked to marry them, And after like a couple of months, I sort of was like thinking about what I want to say, how I want to do it, whatever. And this feeling came over me because I was like, how am I going to get up there and talk about marriage and trust when I'm 2 marriages down, 2 horrible marriages, never been in a really loving relationship, and had my heart broken, and to get up there and not to mention that talking in front of people, because there were not just my ex was there, but like other people that were going to be attending the wedding that played a role in my second marriage, like being a problem. And this heartbreak came over me, and I actually sat with my daughter and I cried and I said, I don't know how I can do this. I don't know if I can do this because, first of all, I don't feel like I know what love really is, and number 2, it's like my heart has been so broken. So she said to me, she's like, I know you can do it. Like you got this. We want you to do it. So I put this thing together like a month before, and I didn't finish it all. And then I finally finished it like 2 days, maybe 3 days before the ceremony. I put it all together, and it was a mix of really beautiful stuff, but also to the point, but funny, And I got to tell you, I nailed it. Like I was proud of what I came up with as far as the ceremony. Like I was proud of what I wrote and what I said. And I was also able to sort of like do a little to the people that were in the audience, because I talked about the importance of loving, respecting, being faithful, and all that stuff. And I because I was worried in the beginning that, oh my God, I should be embarrassed because all, like you said, like shaming, when you were talking about that before, I should be embarrassed because I'm talking about this like I know what it is, yet I got that. No, I know what it is. See, this is the difference. And this is what gave me strength. I know what respect and being faithful is. The other players in my life did not. So I got up there with confidence to be able to say, I know what a good marriage makes. You're the ones who all fucked up. Like you're the ones who all made mistakes. And so I got up there and I did it, and it was wonderful, and everybody loved it. Like I kept having people come up to me, mostly for the funny parts, But I was proud of myself because I looked at that and I said, you know what? I was trying to, my heart was broken, and it wasn't, and I knew it wasn't broken, but I felt like it hadn't healed. My heart is completely healed. I am very clear about who I am and who those other people were and who I want to become. And so I embrace the fact that I will never stop loving. the love, the cheesy, girl flicks and love stories, chick flicks. I will never, I am a hopeless romantic. And no, and nothing that those people did to me will ever prevent me from being that person. I love love. So this is what I have become. Fuck all of you. I love love. You guys have no idea what unconditional love really means because of how you were in those the relationships with me and all the other players. So that is what I have become. And I am so glad that my daughter asked me to do that. And I am so glad that I went through with it, because there was a little part of me a couple of times where I was like, I'm going to tell her I can't do this. And it was, and I'm glad that I did, because that is who I have become.
And that's beautiful. I'm happy that you did that too. I mean, as wedding officiants, I think that it's important for you to put your touch, your magical touch in it when you're marrying somebody. Everybody's on edge, and the jokes part is also beautiful. And that you actually stood up there knowing that there were so many people in the audience who knew what was being done to you. And so it's a valor of strength. You know, you walk up there and you're like, there, here I am. And you didn't care whether they threw flowers or eggs, because people don't like strong people, or people, they think it's a joke until it's not. So that was beautiful. And I'm glad that you went through with it. Um, because if you don't show up for who you are, don't expect to be respected. If you don't build those solid boundaries, you don't have to be a pain in the ass about it. But no, I am Margarita. I am not Margarita. Point blank, period. Get it, or don't even speak with me. Don't call out my name. People look at me like, damn, it's just a name. Still to this day. But you know what? Build those boundaries. I need you to do this. You need to ask me if I have the time to do that. Now we're okay. Now we can communicate. Don't tell me to do something, ask me to do something. When you will approach me, you will approach me correctly, with my name being said correctly, or an effort to roll the R's. you know and if you know me, then you can call me Margie. If you don't know me, then I'm gonna check you, and that's just how it is. If I don't do that for me, who's going to do that for me? And that's what this is all about. I am, and I know. And now we're in the second day of I am becoming, however you want to do that. And that's what it is. So remember, we had a show back in February, and it was called Flaws and Flowers. And I think some of the stuff that we've said in past shows still ring true today. And before we go, it's like just a reminder from that show on February 16 of Flaws and Flowers, because I have it here. I told you I was going through a lot of shit yesterday. And I said, wow, this is really good, because one of the things that was said was, without mistakes, we do not know. We cannot learn, and we absolutely do not grow. And that is Flaws and Flowers. Without those mistakes, you can't learn anything. So without learning, you're not growing into that beautiful botanical garden you are. So everything, no matter who did what to you, no matter what participation you added to that, the only question you got to ask yourself when you look in the mirror is like, but did I die? No. Hangover, my favorite one. And then, there's a meme with the lady, I forgot her name, she's an actress. And she's like, I wake up every morning and I look in the mirror and I say, you a pretty bitch. And I go about my day. And I love that. It's I don't know what she played in. And
You a pretty bitch.
Yeah,
I can't pull it off.
Bitch. You know what? Because
Yeah,
if
I'm a little too
we
white.
gotta
I
love
can't get
ourselves. Love yourself. Love yourself. Honor yourself. Be valiant towards yourself. 4, get up. 4, get up. 4, get up. 4, get up until you're rising like the phoenix. But you got this. And that's why we all come together. And thank you for staying later. And thank you for sharing that beautiful story about us, because sometimes when you break through the clear net that you thought was a wall and you come out on the other side is very inspiring to other people listening to it, because we do see a brick wall when it's just a mosquito net, boo boo, cut right through it. And that's what you shared with us, so thank you.
Well,
These talks
thank
are
you. And
good.
thanks everybody for staying longer. I appreciate that. And all the comments have been wonderful. So thank you. So we are, everybody have a great weekend. Get ready for the accountability week next week, the review and accountability. I own. So we're going to get ready and talk about what we own. And we've already started that conversation this week anyway. So thanks everybody. So from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
Yes, and I forgot to say hello to Milagros if she's still on, because Milagros is always here. Thank you everybody for coming on and sharing, and we'll see you Tuesday. So from the Gladiator Guru, La Margarita, remember to breathe in the beauty, breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.